All right, happy CRNA week, everyone. I'm so excited to be doing these quick sessions with you guys over the week. We are going to get right into it. So today we are going to be talking, is CRNA the wrong career for you? And so I'm going to bring up some key aspects of this profession, things for you to think about to help you determine whether or not this is going to be a good career fit for yourself. So first and foremost, I kind of want to bring the point to light that this is a very high pressure, fast paced environment that you will be working in. And with that comes high stress. And not that at least I don't personally feel stressed out all the time when I'm at work. However, I have been practicing being a CRNA for 7 years now, going on 8. And so I would say most of my days are pretty laid back, pretty easygoing, and I don't come home stressed out or anything like that. However, especially as a student, learning this profession and kind of going through all these new things for the first time, it can be extremely stressful and scary, and a lot of unknowns with that. So I wanted to point out the fact that, again, we kind of work in a very high pressure, fast paced environment. Things can change in an instant. That's another thing to kind of keep in mind as far as the high pressure, meaning things can be going completely smooth, and then a split second, things can change. The patient's not doing well. The surgeon he needs to alter his plan and do something pretty quick, and it can get ugly very quickly. And in my experience, when things like this happen, you usually have all hands on deck. You're usually calling in multiple CRNAs, multiple attendings into the room to help manage and stabilize the patient. So obviously you use your judgment call as to how bad or how critical the situation is and what steps need to be taken to alleviate that to keep the patient safe. Sometimes it's as simple as telling the surgeon to actually stop what they're doing, because sometimes they're the ones causing the patient to become unstable. Sometimes it's delegating to the OR staff that you need something from them. Sometimes it's, again, calling your attending. Sometimes it's calling, letting the OR nurse, like your hands are busy, so you're letting the OR nurse to call in the team that you need the whole team there. As many people that are circulating that are free, you need them all in there. And obviously, again, you're kind of judging the situation and what you need. Fast paced, no, don't get me wrong, depending on where you work, I don't really consider all environments very fast paced. However, I have had experience at a surgery center, and yeah, that's fast paced. That's like you drop your patient off and pack you, and they're already in pre-op getting your next patient. So you don't hardly have any time to even say hi to your patient. Most, I would say, larger facilities, hospitals, you usually have a good solid 5 to 10 minutes between cases. In a slower facility, it could be a half hour sometimes, and that almost to me is too painfully slow. If it takes a really long time to get the room turned over, sometimes robotic cases can take a long time to turn over a room. But I usually use those breaks to get something to eat, feed, water myself. But again, in a surgery center or other facilities that are more outpatient settings, they're usually very, very quick, meaning you essentially have to be ready to go back with your next patient as soon as you're done with that case that you're currently managing. So that can be challenging. Now, as a student, I remember feeling like it was fast-paced all the time because, again, keep in mind the mindset you're in is everything's new and foreign, so it feels heavier to get ready for the next case. But the more you do it, the easier it gets, and also the more prepared you feel to go right into the next case because, again, you just get more accustomed to doing it. Okay, so next, let's talk about delegation. Delegation is a big part of this career path, and what I mean by that is not that you're going to fly into being a CRNA and feel comfortable bossing the whole OR room around, although I do enjoy telling people what to do because, again, it's just nice to have help, and as long as you do it in a friendly way, it's not really bossy. It's just you're telling them what you need, and people appreciate that. You really have to be willing to speak your mind and let people know what you need and when you need it. And why. Remember, when you're talking to the surgeons that you say you're telling them to stop what they're doing, you have to know why you're asking them to stop and having a reason behind it. Or if you need something from them, you have to understand why you need it and be able to express that to them. Because again, they're going to be asking you, well, why do you want me to do that? Why do you need this? And why do you think that? They're going to want to know the why. So you have to be really comfortable also understanding that aspect of your care. but delegating and speaking your mind is a big part of what we do. Now that takes time. Again, I would consider myself someone who's timid and shy. So speaking from someone who is like that naturally, and someone who's not, if I'm in a group of strangers, I'm not the person who's going to be talking and speaking up. I'm usually very quiet. You may not think that, considering I put myself out here for you guys all the time, but I am much of an introvert and someone who kind of keeps to themselves. And so it can be done even if you have my personality type. You can be someone who is vocal and speaks up in the right situation. And it does take time, meaning, and I think that comes from getting confidence in what your knowledge base is and understanding of what you're doing. And for me, I love to ask questions. I ask questions all the time. And to pretty much anyone who will give me the time of day, I ask questions. And I don't think you should ever feel guilty about asking questions. Anyone in the course of your training who makes you feel bad about asking questions, shame on them. And that's my own personal opinion, my own personal thought. And I especially think as a student, you're doing your patient a disservice and everyone involved a disservice by not asking questions. So please, that's very important to ask questions early on. It's how you build the foundations and your knowledge base. It's how you gain the confidence to delegate. And that's a very important skill to get as a CRNA. Now, you start this skill in the ICU, meaning when you're running codes, when your patient's crashing, when you need something from your medical team. You start the delegation process from your time in critical care, which is why schools require critical care experience. So delegation begins as your time as a nurse. So keep that in mind too when you're getting your ICU experience, that you need to start kind of forming this type of a skill during that time. Okay, so next is independent decision making. So this comes from, again, having the confidence behind your knowledge base. And one thing that we do very well inside CRNA School Prep Academy in our workshops is we build this foundation, this knowledge base of foundation. You need that to build upon that, not only as you're an ICU nurse, but as your time as an anesthesia student. You know, going into anesthesia school, they're going to expect you to already have a very good base knowledge of pathophysiology, pharmacology, which is why a lot of schools will kind of grill you in this in the interview, because they want to kind of test to see where you're at. They want to see where your baseline is. And you have to have a strong baseline for this, especially if you want to excel. Because if you've ever heard people say that it's like drinking from a fire hose in CRNA school, it's true. But it's even more so true if you have a lot of catching up to do with your base knowledge. So we do this in CRNA School Prep Academy as part of our educational workshops. We have 13 workshops. And again, our goal with these workshops is to not only help you gain this critical care knowledge that's going to not only help you in your interview, but it's going to play into your time as a SRNA. So this independent decision making comes from having a good base knowledge and feeling confident to speak to what you know. Remember, as I just said, they're going to ask you why. So the independent decision making, when you make a choice, you have to know why you're making that choice, and you have to be able to back yourself up. And again, this takes time to build this skill, takes time to build this confidence. But again, focusing on this baseline knowledge that you go into the ICU with and into CRNA school with, will this play into your time as a CRNA as well. You have to be comfortable making decisions. You're not going to wait around for someone to tell you what to do. You have to be making choices. You have to use your knowledge to take action. The action has to be quick. And so again, you're not going to be, well, I'll wait for someone to get to the room to help me. No, you have to know what to do and do it now. Because seconds matter. So again, independent decision making, and I hope this doesn't come off as too intimidating, because this does build with time. Trust me, you spend a lot of time. You get about 1,000 cases in during CRNA school. So over those 1,000 experiences, you're going to get this independent decision making confidence under your belt. All right, pharmacology and pathophysiology. I believe back in the day, back in 2012 when I interviewed, I mentioned this in my interview as far as why I knew I would love and thrive as a CRNA. And it is true still to this day. You have to really enjoy pharmacology and pathophysiology, because you literally work with it, deal with it every single day in the operating room. Your patients are all unique. They all have their own medical history, disease processes, surgical processes going on that all plays into different pathophysiology processes. It can evolve what type of anesthetic you provide, how you provide it, how you wake them up, their post-op care. It literally can change. It can make your entire case different from case to case, meaning no lap appy is the same because no patient is the same. I find that fun because you don't want to do the same thing over and over and over. That'd be boring. So even if it's the same lap appy, yes, the case is the same and the surgical technique's the same, but your patient's different. They may require different drugs, okay? And so that's where the active critical care thinking process comes in and allows you to kind of tailor your plan. And again, maybe they start with a baseline heart rate of 60, or 50. And so would you give them neo if they got hypotensive, or would you pull out ephedrine? And so again, you're making these decisions based on what their physiology process is going on, what they need from you. And so you do have to have a love and at least enjoyment of pharmacology and pathophysiology. Now, if you're someone who has potentially struggled in these areas in school and you're like, man, but Jenny, I'm not good at these areas, just take a deep breath. And what I challenge you to ask yourself is it because you don't like it or because you find the material hard? And then why do you find the material hard? Is it because you don't like it, or is it because maybe your learning style has not been adapted as such to really truly embrace what you need to do to learn it well? That's probably more likely the case. And it was definitely my case early on in my academic career as a college student. And it wasn't until I really tried to hone in on my study techniques that I really started excelling academically. But really with pharmacology and pathophysiology, guys, the biggest trick with getting good at, not memorizing, but understanding it is to try to interleave your connections within it, meaning and then visualize how things are unfolding in real life and kind of just run through scenarios in your brain and connect the puzzle. It's like a puzzle piece. Think of it as a puzzle, and every piece, based on what shape fits into where, connects the dots. You have to really look at pathophysiology, pharmacology as connecting the dots in a big puzzle. Not just memorization for what it is. You have to understand the why behind it and how it would work with this pathophysiology process. That will help you understand and get to know this knowledge much more complete, and therefore you're going to be able to excel in it when you're actually in class. So that's my challenge to you, to ask yourself, is it because you don't physically enjoy learning it, because you don't like it? Like me, I hate history. No thanks. No thanks. I don't like history. I don't like it. It just seems boring. Yeah, like I would just go to sleep because I don't like it. So therefore, that's a very strong dislike. I do find it challenging to learn, but it's because I know I don't like it. I don't even enjoy learning it. So that's where I want to get the differentiation between, do you just find it hard or do you just not like it? I think you need to like pathophysiology and pharmacology to really thrive as a CRNA in the day-to-day life. Okay, now we're on to the next point. So working outside your comfort zone. Now, the reason why I brought this up is I'm saying a lot of the stuff that you're going to get more used to this. It's not like it's so uncomfortable that it makes me break out in hives. However, as a CRNA, you guys, you will be thrown into the fire. You will have to be quick and adaptable. You could have a nice lineup of cases and you walk into your in the OR in the morning, you're like, sweet, it's gonna be a good day. And then they're like, Jenny, there's a class 1 rupture AAA coming in. We need you pulling you from your room. Now you have this mess that you're gonna manage all day, and you're like, oh, I wasn't ready for that. Like, brace myself, like, okay, here we go. Or, maybe they'll call you over a neurocath lab for a stroke, or things change. And you have to be willing to be outside of your comfort zone. I can't tell you how many times, you guys, as a student, you get to experience a lot of different things that you've never done before, right? Well, guess what? As a CRNA, you do too. And you don't have a preceptor when you're a CRNA, so you're just like, well, I've never done this case before. I have no idea what to expect, and then that's when I start asking questions. I go to my coworkers, I go to my attending, I use my resources, I talk to my surgeons, I ask questions, and I say, how would you manage this case? Because I've never done it. Is there any tricks that you do differently, whatever? I use my resources, because you will always be experiencing new and different things as a CRNA. Just because you went through CRNA school does not mean you've seen it all. And you will never see it all. And so working outside your comfort zone, you will be thrown into cases that you've never done before. I'll never forget, I came back from maternity leave from our second child, and my very first day back, they put me in a TAVR, which is fine. I like TAVRs, However, it was a brand new pacemaker that no one had been in-serviced on, no one knew how to use. And part of my responsibility as a CRNA was the rapid pace during during the valve placement, which is a very critical part of the case that if you don't do it correctly can be detrimental. So needless to say, I was like, well, someone needs to teach me how to use this pacemaker. This is different. The buttons are all like, how do I do this? And so I was literally thinking like, this is very uncomfortable. I better figure this out quickly. And I let the OR staff know that we're not proceeding in this case until someone can give me that in-service. And so I kind of put the brakes and I said, hey, I'll do this, cool, but you need to take your time and slow down and make sure I know what I'm doing so I can do this case well for you. So that was kind of what I had to do. And yes, was that uncomfortable? Yeah, but I mean, I stood up for my patient, I stood up for myself, and the team as a whole, because I knew I had to. And so that's what I mean. You're going to be delegating, telling people what you need, stepping out of your comfort zone, being put in situations that you weren't prepared for, cases you've never done before. And so it's a lot about being adaptable and flexible. And so I wanted to make sure I'm pointing that out. Some people will say this career path is boring, and that just blows my mind, because part of me is like, you don't even know. Like, if you truly spent day in the life of a CRNA over and over and over again, it's not boring. It's always different. I mean, to me, boring is the same thing over and over again. Even at a colonoscopy clinic, you do colonoscopies all day, but every case is different. Every patient is different. I don't know. I mean, obviously you got to gauge what your own interests are. Some people like to mix it up. Some people like to do OB. Some people like to do peds. Some people like to do open heart. Some people like to do neuro. You figure out what you like through the process. Maybe you'll want to do it all. Maybe you'll want to do regional too. So you figure it out and you let your chief CRNA know what you like, what you don't like, and boom, there you go. There's your schedule. So find a facility that you do like working at, that you will be constantly engaged and thriving in. Everyone's different, but you will routinely be stepping out of your comfort zone. Okay, so I want to kind of leave you guys with, you should be asking yourself these types of questions early on in your CRNA journey, meaning in nursing school, when you're really kind of exploring this career path. You really need to be seen in action. And I know that that's very hard to do these days, again, but you need to try. It doesn't mean you should stop trying, even if it means you have to go an hour or two away, call different facilities around your radius 2 hours. You can look into outpatient surgery centers, hospitals, colonoscopy clinics, dental clinics, ophthalmology clinics. I mean, anywhere where a CRNA practices, that will be a great place to gain experience, to kind of see us in action. If you're not quite ready for an in-person experience, we do offer a virtual simulation that we put together, which is actually walks you through a half hour of recorded footage from an actual anesthesia simulation lab, where students act out a general anesthetic, and then program faculty Richard Wilson actually educates you on all of the steps throughout the procedure, meaning the induction, pre-op, maintenance, emergence of anesthesia, and all the education behind it. We have been told by students who have used this virtual simulation that it has helped them immensely prior to going into their real experience, so they can actually gain more value out of their real person experience, because they will kind of already know what to look for, what to ask. Part of the simulation experience is we give you templates on thank you notes to write, questions to ask your CRNA and MD, tips for the day and how to make the most of your OR time, essentially how to make sure that you're putting your best foot forward and being OR etiquette, I guess you could call it. So we do all that in the virtual simulation experience. So again, I can list the link in the comments. However, I do encourage you to explore this career path, however that looks. If that's in person, if it's the virtual experience, you need to be doing at least one or the other early on, so that way you can kind of gauge whether this is the right career path for you. Also, I want to let you guys know that CRNA School Prep Academy essentially is designed to help you plan early on and kind of help you figure out whether this career path is the right fit. A lot of you are, I think a lot of people, this sounds like a very, I wouldn't say luxurious, but it just like people talk about it a lot early on, especially in nursing school. I know because I was there too. And you're left with a lot of questions. I mean, you're like, well, am I smart enough? Which I hate when that question comes up, but it does. And I had it myself. Do I really want, would I really thrive in this environment? How do I know? How do I know what schools to pick? How do I know all the things? How do I know about how to save for financially and prepare for this? How do I prepare my family? just there's a lot of questions. And so we break down the planning process for you into easy, digestible bits and pieces, because if you start to think of all the things you have to do and all the things you have to know, it gets very overwhelming. And that's where I wanted to come in and help you kind of face that overwhelm in a way that's not overwhelming. I want this to be fun. I want this to be enjoyable. I want you to enjoy your journey, because it is a journey and it takes a long time. And when I say a long time, I'm talking years. And so if you're in nursing school, awesome. I'm proud of you for planning ahead and looking in the information early. If you're later on your journey, like you're already an ICU nurse and you're like, now I want to go for CRNA, that's okay too. Everyone kind of has their own journey into CRNA school, but there is a lot of planning steps. And where I see people apply and maybe not even get an interview, it's because usually you miss something in the planning process. Everyone has blind spots. Everyone does, and that's okay. No application is probably 100% teed up. However, the more you know before you go into the application phase, meaning you've done a very thorough planning phase, you will be better off. You'll be way more likely to gain that interview and gain acceptance. So anyways, check us out. And if you guys want to know where to check us out at, it is at www.CRNASchoolPrepAcademy.com. Thank you guys. Stay tuned for tomorrow's session. Tomorrow we are going to go over a nursing student. So nursing student to CRNA and steps to take. This is going to be at 2 p.m. tomorrow, EST time. And again, we're going to cover nursing students, what you should be doing as a nursing student, what are some things you can be doing to kind of take more steps towards becoming a CRNA, so that way this journey is kind of fast-tracked for you. And also, just as a quick announcement, our sticker shop, I know I posted some announcements about our sticker shop. Anyone who joins the week of CRNA week, joins CRNA School Prep Academy, is going to get a sticker pack. All 5 stickers are going to be sent to you. However, tomorrow, on Monday the 24th, we are going to be launching our sticker shop. Officially is going to be opening. And again, anyone who joins CRNA School Prep Academy during the week of CRNA week, which is today, the 23rd, all the way through the 29th, will get a free sticker pack. So anyways, thank you guys, and I hope you all have a wonderful day. I'll see you tomorrow.